Excellent. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Derek Pharr. I'm the Chief Product Officer here for Sporcle. But I also write a newsletter called Chief Rabbit, which is cleverly hidden at chiefrabbit.com. And in that, I write about things like what we're going to talk about today. I write a little bit about your mind and learning things and getting more done and whatnot. So that's a little bit of why you're going to listen to me ramble on and off. And I am joined by Buzzy.
Hi, I'm Buzzy.
You're Buzzy.
That's it? Is that enough?
I don't know. What do you normally, like, I figure you were normally introduced as opposed to introducing yourself.
I am a music supervisor. I was just telling Derek, this is not totally public, but I have been writing for Pop Culture Jeopardy, which just started taping yesterday. So I have a rare distinction now, having been a Jeopardy contestant, a Jeopardy host, guest host, and a Jeopardy writer. I'm the first person to have done those three things, like what do they call it, like a Bobby Orr hat trick?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a book called Baby Got Facts that just came out a few months ago. I have another book which is more to our topic called Get Ready, which is an audiobook about how I got ready to appear on Jeopardy, and I met some other people who had done some interesting stuff and learned how they prepared for big events. And should I keep going?
I
hosted a show that just came out a few months ago on the History Channel called The Einstein Challenge, which was super fun, kind of about communication on complicated things, which is I'm not doing a good job of right now. And that's mostly, I think that's enough.
That's outstanding.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
Nice. Okay, so we don't have a whole lot of time, and I'm a pacer, so bear with me as I pace. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about just how your memory works, and we're going to try and distill decades of research and hundreds of books into about like 2 minutes. And then we're going to talk a little bit just about some of those techniques to kind of strengthen your memory. I'll talk about a few of them. Buzzy will talk about a little bit, then they'll come back to me. And what we'll also do is try and maybe coax a couple people to demonstrate. We can kind of be our guinea pigs, so we can show how some of this stuff plays out. Does that sound good? Okay, I love it. All right, so you're stuck with me here for the bit, so don't worry. You can look at Buzzy. He's much better looking than I am. But listen to me for the time being. And let's talk about how your memory works. So fundamentally, all your memory is just, it's a way to store and retrieve information, right? Like at its most basic sense, you're storing and retrieving info. And that comes in three flavors. There's encoding, and that's just learning things. And then there is storage, and that's just how you store things. And we all know those through like your short-term memory or your working memory and your long-term memory. And then there's retrieval, right? How do you bring those things out of the archives of your mind, if that's where they exist, and bring them forward so that you can, know stuff, right? You can compete. And so some people are naturally more inclined in the retrieval process. Some people just have more interest in it. They just have a more natural ability. But despite that natural ability or that interest, they also have to train, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, facts, good. And so when you say like, oh no, I have a bad memory, I don't have a good memory, that's not true, okay? You have maybe some weakness in those connections that you can strengthen. And the good news about that is that it's like a muscle, and then you can build up muscles. I can't, but other people can build up muscles through training and through exercise. And no matter how good you are or how much natural ability you have, you can train and get better at it. Okay, so I have some notes. So what we're going to talk about today and show you is how to train some of those things. All right, so luckily the first way to do this, the most fundamental way to do this, is simple but takes effort. And that is to pay attention, right? You just have to pay attention with intention, okay? So what does that look like? Can I ask your name?
Lori.
Lori?
Yes.
Lori, and how do you spell Lori?
Laurie.
Laurie. So Lori, is there wasn't there a Piper Laurie? Is that how she spells her last name? Yes, so Piper Laurie. Do you know what Piper Laurie was in?
Carrie.
I think she was in Carrie. The mother of Carrie. So Piper Laurie. And that's your name? You're Lori. Not Piper, but Lori. Okay. So what did I do there? Well, I paid attention, right? And so how often do you like meet people and you're like, hey, I'm Tony. Hey, Tony. And then like 5 minutes later, you're like, Bob? I think it was Bob. So you have to pay attention, but with intention. And it's easy, but hard, right? Like that takes work. You kind of always have to be on. So let's demonstrate this again. So Buzzy.
Yes.
Can we ask you a couple personal questions?
Please.
Okay. Do you have any pets?
I do.
Okay. What kind of pet?
I have a dog.
What's your dog's name?
Prudence Prim.
Prudence Prim. Okay. And why name your dog Prudence Prim?
She was named after one of Calvin Coolidge's dogs.
Okay. That's fantastic. Okay, so Prudence Prim, the dog. What kind of dog?
She is a blue Picardy Spaniel.
Oh my gosh. The more I talk to Buzzy, the more I need to know Buzzy. Okay, so Prudence Prim. Okay. Where were you born?
Where was I born?
Yeah.
New Jersey. Do you want me to be more specific?
Can you be more specific?
Sure. Overlook Hospital in Summit, New Jersey.
Okay, so Overlook Hospital. So Prudence Prim is Buzzy's dog. And so Prudence Prim, Calvin Coolidge, PP, Dear Prudence, Prim and Proper, Overlook Hospital. They overlook, they're watching you as you are being born. It's awkward, but they're overlooking you. And then let's do one more. Any influences or teachers in your life?
Yeah, I'm still in touch with my high school English teacher.
Stop.
His name is Dean Slider.
Dean Slider.
Yeah.
Like S-L-I-D-E-R?
No.
Okay.
Sluyter.
Yes. I would pronounce that Dean Sluter, but it's Slider.
Slider like Van Nuys,
Van Nuys. Okay.
right?
I don't know that.
Oh. It's a California thing.
It's a California thing. That's good.
It's Dutch.
It's Dutch.
Dutch.
I'm neither from California or Dutch. But I did have an English teacher, and Dean Slider was not his name. But Dean's a cool guy, and you're still in touch.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, what's Buzzy's dog's name? What hospital was Buzzy born at? Okay. Now it's possible some of you already know that from his Wikipedia page, but still. And does Dean have a teacher that he keeps in touch with?
My name is Buzzy.
It's been a long weekend, y'all, I swear. Okay, so what do we do there? We paid attention with intention, okay? So in the book, Why We Remember, they talk about your memory as a cluttered desk. And so like picture your desk and it's all cluttered and you have a password and you write it down on a strip of paper and you leave it on your cluttered desk. Well, that's gonna be harder to recall, okay? It's gonna be harder to find the password. You can do it with effort, but that's gonna be more difficult. But instead, if you have that password and you write it down on a pink sticky note and you put it in a specific location, you're gonna find that password. And your memory works the same way. You got a lot of stuff floating around up here. I mean, you guys do, I don't, but most people have a lot of stuff floating around up here. And it's a cluttered desk. And so if you give it intention, it's pink, it's in a specific place, you're gonna have an easier time with recall, right? Makes sense. Okay.
It does make sense.
It does make sense.
I just want to support you.
Buzzy is my my emotional support host, among other things. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple other techniques in there, but your first technique is just paying attention with intention. Your next technique is something that we all heard of, we all know, it's mnemonics, right? So every good boy does fine, the notes of the scale, Roy G. Biv for the planets of the solar system. Yeah, okay, I was just making sure you're paying attention. I normally teach kids this, and kids don't do a lot with trivia, and they don't live in Michigan, so this might not work as well, but the Great Lakes, don't shout them out, but just raise your hand if you do not know your Great Lakes. Okay, what's your name? Amy, perfect. And Amy, are you from here?
No.
Perfect, okay. Can you name any of the Great Lakes? Superior, okay. But you are familiar with the Great Lakes conceptually. Perfect, okay. Do you ever want to live on the water, Amy?
I do.
You do. Wouldn't you like a beautiful residence on the water?
I live in San Diego.
Okay, but that's fair. Okay, but if you had all the money in the world, you'd buy multiple residences on the water.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Amy would do that, as we would. So you might want homes on a lake, right? Homes on a lake. Just H-O-M-E-S, homes on a lake somewhere. So homes on a lake is a great way to remember the Great Lakes. So the H stands for Huron, O stands for Ontario. M stands for, where are we? Okay, we're in Michigan. E stands for Erie, and S stands for Superior. So homes on a lake. So remember that, homes on a lake, Amy, because we're gonna come back to you. Okay. Real quick, what's Buzzy's dog's name? Perfect. Oh my goodness.
Very, very rare.
Very, very rare. That's fantastic. So I use mnemonics all the time in things that I have a hard time remembering. And again, blue, pink sticky note, the dumber the better. So I really struggle with the Nordic countries, not what they are, but like where they are. You know, like the Scandinavia's up there, and they all kind of look the same to me, and they're skinny and long and weird, beautiful countries. But for me, I just can't wrap my head around it. So what I came up with is not safe from Russia. So a little too soon, and Russia is not a Nordic country. But if you want to get the rest of them, you can do a little loop, and you can go, Denmark is not safe from Russia. And so anytime I look at a map and I'm like, oh my gosh, which one's Sweden? Oh, it's not safe from Russia, it's that one. The other one I do is for the provinces of Canada. And this demonstrates a little bit of chunking. So when information is too much, there's too much to do, you break it up into smaller pieces, right? So you chunk that information, you batch it, okay? So for the provinces of Canada, you'd think I would know those. I live in Seattle, Canada's right there. But the only one I can remember is British Columbia. And so this is my own dumb thing, and dumber's better. Be a Superman or quit. Now, if you're not a man, which you don't have to be, you could be a super mom, or be a super madam, or be a super something that begins with M, or quit. And then new Prince Nova, right? That doesn't make any sense, but if you go new Prince Nova, like those are gonna fit together in the weirdest way. And then instead of CNN up in Canada, they have the YNN, which is the Yukon News Network. Okay, so why am I spouting weird words?
Because that's how you remember the provinces.
Okay, and so you probably already knew your provinces.
Sure.
Sure, okay. With what I just said, be a Superman or quit, could you name your provinces?
Yeah. British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec.
Yes.
That's be a Superman or quit.
Yes.
And then the new
Prince Nova.
Prince Nova was Newfoundland and Labrador. Prince Edward Island is the prince. Did I miss the second new?
You did.
Newfoundland. Hold on, I'm gonna go to Nova Scotia because we did that. New Prince Nova, and then the second new is New Brunswick.
Yes, and this was spectacularly unfair. We did not rehearse this.
You can tell that we really didn't rehearse this.
No rehearsal, no net, and I put you on the spot. But excellent work, right? And Buzzy will remember that later. Hopefully, so will you. Oh, and the YNN is the Yukon. Northwest Territories.
And Nunavut.
Nunavut. Okay. So that's chunking. That's mnemonic. So you pay attention with intention. You chunk things to break them up. You can use mnemonics. Those are all different techniques, and when you use them in concert, they strengthen those connections, right? They help you pull back from the archives of your brain. Okay, so that's enough of me for now. Don't worry, I'm gonna come back. Or maybe be worried, I'm gonna come back. And I wanna turn it over to Buzzy, who's gonna talk a bit.
I'll stand up too because I'm not to be outdone. So I'll go back a little bit where I did not really have a training method for trivia preparation. I did what most people do, which is like watch Jeopardy with a ballpoint pen. Then I did pretty good. And I was worried I was going to embarrass myself when I went back, so I started looking into this. The main method that I've really gotten into is something called... There are two different names. So I was taught it as sequenced repetition, and Derek has informed me that it is also known as spaced repetition. Thank you. I forgot that you had called it that just a few minutes ago. See?
No rehearsal.
No rehearsal. So the concept of this is that when you hear something for the first time, you might remember it for a minute, right? And like sort of like when you meet someone new, during the conversation, you probably have a minute where you remember their name, and then if the conversation goes longer and you haven't heard it again, you'll forget it. But if you hear it again within that minute, maybe you'll remember it for 5 minutes, and then you'll hear it again and you'll remember it for a day. So the idea of spaced repetition is trying to hit you right as you're about to forget something. So when you first learn that the Best Picture winner of 1955 was Marty.
Yes.
You'll be like, okay, Marty, and then a minute later you hit it again. Okay, Marty. Then the next day you go back and it's like, it's Marty. So right when you're kind of at that point of forgetting it, you kind of bring it up. And there are a bunch of different apps that help you with this, and the one that I use is a flashcard app called Anki. How many of you are familiar with that? Probably a lot of you, yeah. So Anki is based on this principle, and the idea is that when you normally use flashcards, right, there's two parts that I think is very useful about this method. So let's say you get it wrong, then you kind of start the process over. So if then 2 days later I don't get Marty right, I have to see Marty again in a minute, and then I'll see it again in a day. And the idea is that you kind of keep hitting the things that you're not as good at more often, right? So on my Jeopardy flashcard decks, I have about 30,000 flashcards of all kinds of stuff, whether, Best Picture winners or world capitals or presidential years or newspapers or authors and books and all of that stuff. But, world capitals is a great example. I don't need to go through my deck of flashcards of world capitals every day and slog through the capital of France or Germany or the United States, because those are, or Japan, I know those really well, but I do need to study the ones I'm not as familiar with. So the ones I get wrong, I'm gonna see much more often. So of those 30,000 flashcards, when I'm kind of in my training, this is still gonna sound like a lot, but I probably only see like 2,500 a day, which at like 3 seconds a card is a couple hours of studying, versus imagine going through 30,000 flashcards every day. So the idea is that you're only seeing things when you need to see them, when there's a higher chance that you're on that edge of either forgetting or have forgotten or need to be reminded, and you're not having to study the same volume all the time because you're burying the cards deeper in your study deck than the ones that you're kind of regularly getting wrong, having a hard time. So you're repeating more often. The space is smaller for the stuff that you're more challenged with, and the things that you really know cold, you get a reminder, in your deck every once in a while. How did I do on that, Derek?
Outstanding. Absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Any notes?
No notes, but I could fill in some nerdy gaps.
Is it about the forgetting curve?
A little bit, yeah.
You can do the forgetting curve.
I can do the forgetting curve?
Yeah.
Buzzy, you spoil me. So the forgetting curve is just that. It's this curve and it's this arch, and it's what Buzzy was talking about, these kind of moments in time that you forget things. And this came about by a 17th century, late 1700s, a psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus. So you'll sometimes see it if you Google it as Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve. And he experimented on himself, because that's what you did when you were a scientist in pre-1990. And he tried to memorize all these things, and that's what he realized, that like you have this forgetting curve. But he's also known for this method of spaced repetition by breaking things out. And so you have day 0, day 1, day 3, and so on. And so why Buzzy kept looking at me for the Best Picture winners is because Peter and I and Kyle and I have been working on this project for Sporcle, a web project where I'm gonna just learn all of the Best Picture winners from 1928 all the way through, and trying different
27.
techniques. Well, it's 27, 28, right? Like they kind of overlap. And so just going all the way up and chunking them and trying these different techniques. And so one of those techniques that, and we tried a bunch of different things, and one of those techniques that was really actually helpful, it was so helpful it felt like cheating, was the loci method. So raise your hand if you know the loci method. Okay, yes, up here. Okay, maybe if I give it a different name, a mind palace?
There we go.
Okay. All right, but you don't use a mind palace.
I don't use a mind palace.
Okay, because you don't have to use any one method. You can use multiple methods. You can use different methods, right? Like we're all beautiful, unique snowflakes, and so you got to use whatever speaks mostly effectively for you. And honestly, my guess, I'm gonna ask you why you don't in a minute, but my guess is because of the instant recall. Like,
yeah, so for me, it was a combination of the instant recall and the volume.
yeah,
It's hard to have a palace big enough for 30,000 flashcards.
that's a big palace.
It's a big palace. So, yeah, that was kind of... I had encountered the Mind Palace and more in sort of memory competition, but not as much in trivia competition.
Okay, that's a good distinction. I like that. Do you do memory competitions?
No.
Okay. Because memory competitions are a whole other beast, right?
Whole other beast, yeah.
Yeah.
And very interesting, but I don't think I have a great memory.
But you have excellent recall.
I have excellent recall.
Yeah. Memory competitions are crazy because they'll give you a deck of cards and like, hey, you have what, like 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds or 90 seconds to memorize the deck of cards. Thousands of digits of pi, like these kind of things. And so memory champs are crazy people, but they're really cool. And so they'll use the Mind Palace, and you'll see why for recall, and especially for volume, it's not really good. But it is really good for all sorts of things, like learning all of the Best Picture winners, which ironically I was like, what's the word? And so what I want to do is demonstrate what that looks like with a couple folks here. But first, let me explain what the heck a Mind Palace is. Okay, so if you've watched Sherlock from BBC, you've seen him, been like, I've got to put it in my Mind Palace. That's my British accent. It's terrible. And what it is that we remember things like part of what's really good for us with recall is space, right? Hey, Josh, do we have another mic by any chance? Josh is not there. Okay. Is space and visual, okay? So if you drive to work, right, maybe the first time you're driving to work, you're like, oh, I gotta take a left on Madison and a right on Fillmore. I'm just making up presidents' names that are streets. But over time, you don't have to tell yourself that. You just do it, right? Because you recognize, like visually through locations and whatnot, this is how it works. And so the Mind Palace is kind of the same thing. You take things and you put them in actual kind of physical places in your mind. It's a little challenging to do here because like we don't know this place. Like this isn't a known intimate place for us. And so when you do this on your own, or if you do it on your own, think of your kitchen, or think of your backyard, or think of where you go to work. But the idea is that you take something and you stick it in a place and you make it interesting and distinctive. And then you go to the next one, and you go to the next one, and the next one. And so, for example, in the Sporcle offices, I was trying to like learn the movies of the 1950s. And so we have a couch back there. So 1950 was all about Eve, and I just pictured Eve like luxuriating on a couch. And then I just kind of built from there for, so An American in Paris, I think is next. So I just looked out our window and I was like, I pictured a guy draped in an American flag, walking with someone in a beret and a baguette. And I know that's a horrible cliche, and I apologize, but it sticks in your brain, right? And then I came back inside, and there was we have these orange chairs, and I pictured a big circus, and look, it's the greatest show on earth, and so on and so forth. And that's really good until someone at a drop of a hat goes, quick, what's 1956? And you have to be like, oh, okay, there was the circus, and then there was the thing up there, and then that thing over here, and then, oh yeah, Marty was here. Oh yeah, the bridge on the River Kwai. And that just doesn't play well on Jeopardy. But it's super handy to remember things, okay? Briefly, what hospital was Buzzy born in? Overlook. Okay. But it was Overlook, because it was overlooking the thing. The town, oh yes, Summit was the town. Amy, what are our Great Lakes?
Very good.
That's pretty cool, Amy. Okay, so I want to demonstrate a Mind Palace. We're still doing okay on time, right? Yeah, I think we're on time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I came up with a few topics, and I'm going to ask for people to come down, ideally in pairs. We'll try this with a couple. 7 dwarfs. So raise your hand if you don't really know your 7 dwarfs. Yeah? Okay. And you as well? Not well. Do you two want to pair up for this? Okay, come on down.
Let's hear it for him.
The dwarfs are tricky. They're tricky, right? Because as you get thinking of dwarfs, you're like, oh yeah, there's Doc and there's Sleepy, and then there's the Care Bears, and then there's the Smurfs, and then I'm thinking of like Danishes. Yeah. What? Yeah, exactly. Yes, they all kind of run together, and you're like, which one of these guys was a dwarf? And 7 was dark, and that was the Sins. Okay, wait. So what we're gonna do is, and I'm sorry, what's your name?
Matt.
And
Raymond.
Matt and Raymond. Perfect. So Matt, like the founder of Sporcle. Matt Ramey. Matt, good guy. Raymond. Everybody loves Raymond. Okay. They generally do. All right, I'm gonna build a palace for you, but you shouldn't do that, right? You should have your own kind of space that you're familiar with, and use your own imagination to come up with stuff. But in the interest of time, I'm gonna try and do this for you. Okay, so we'll start with the exit sign over there, and there's a dwarf hiding and kind of back and forth between the entrance, and they don't know what to do because why? Because they're bashful, right? They're shy. They don't know if they should come in or not, and so they're kind of sheepish, and so that dwarf is bashful. I actually don't know my dwarfs either, so this will be good for all of us. Doc, thank you. Yes.
Grumpy.
Why do I need notes when I have all these people here? Okay, perfect. Okay, so next to bashful, trying to come in and out the door, is a medical professional at this table. Okay, it's a doctor, and they're hoping to give bashful maybe some medicine to help him feel better, or maybe they're worried about bashful, right? What's that?
Beta blocker.
Yeah, beta blockers. That's good. Perfect. And so who's coming in and out of the door?
Bashful.
And who are they meeting on their way in?
Doc.
Okay, perfect. And so they do that, and then behind the table where Matt and I were sitting earlier, just the two of the silliest guys you're gonna ever hope to meet. Just crazy guys. And they're doing drugs. Yeah, it's dopamine. Yeah, so and they're really sleepy and they're tired and they're not sleepy. They're more just goofy, right? Like two goofy guys on dopamine. What else we got?
And melatonin.
And melatonin. Yeah. Okay, and this was tricky because you don't want to get confused with another Care Bear. Kidding, yes. All right, so we got bashful at the door, and they're gonna meet a doctor, and then they're dopey right back there.
Sorry, I thought you were putting both of them back there. That's
Oh, okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, no, because we're going alphabetically. I should have mentioned that.
You should have mentioned that.
I should have mentioned that. Okay, so we got, no, I'm sorry, it's all good. We're gonna edit this in post, it's gonna be fine. Okay.
Bashful Doc Dopey.
Bashful Doc Dopey. Okay, and we'll speed up a little bit. So up here on this screen is just the angriest dwarf you've ever seen. And they're angry because they're looking back at you. They can see you, but they can't talk, and they don't like trivia, and their hat's too tight. I don't know. They're just really grumpy. It's a giant grumpy dwarf. Not the cute globies. They're happy. But like a giant grumpy dwarf is up there, and he's freaking out. But over here is a dwarf that's going to run in and try and bring joy to this dwarf's life. They're going to be happy because they're always happy, right? They're a happy dwarf, and they're going to I'm happy, and they're going to just spring in
With the balloons.
with the balloons. That's right. I was going to use balloons. I forgot.
Oh, shit.
No. I completely forgot the balloons. It's ironic to forget something at a memory talk, but go with it. Okay, so, all right. You still good? You guys with me? Okay. What's his name? What's his name?
Ray.
Perfect. What was Buzzy's teacher's name? Good. Excellent. Extra. If I had a gold star, I would give you a gold star. That's perfect. Okay, we got 2 more. And over here next to Peter is someone just curled up in a little ball, and they're so tired. They're so tired. And if you spend enough time with Peter and he drags you to a casino after Battle of the Brains, you're going to be sleepy too. And I'm not saying that happened, but I'm not saying that happened. Okay, so over here by Peter, curled up in a little ball, is Sleepy. And then, okay, yeah, this is like the hot dog wall. It makes me think of hot dogs. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. And I don't know, I'm allergic to hot dogs. It's terrible. They make me sneeze all the time. Whenever I eat a hot dog, I even thinking about it makes me sneeze. Just hot dogs make me sneeze all the time. I get really
Sneezy.
Thank you, Buzzy. Okay.
Sorry, I just got caught up.
No, it's good. Like I said, emotional support, Buzzy, and we all need that in life. Okay. How do you guys feel? You feel good?
Great.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
That's good. Okay. All right. So Matt, name the dwarves.
Bashful, dark, dopey, grumpy, happy, sleepy, sneezy.
Excellent. It's harder for you. Name the dwarfs backwards.
Sneezy, sleepy, happy, grumpy, dopey, dark, and bashful.
Thank you both very much. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. All right, how are we doing?
Awesome.
Hey, we're doing awesome. Okay. How much time? I got to check time too, because in addition to other things, I'm a project manager. We got 13 minutes. All right, should we do another one? Okay. Is there anything you want to learn?
That I want to learn?
Yeah.
I don't want to learn anything. I was going to add something. Can I
Okay.
add
Yeah,
something?
absolutely. I'm talking
One
too
thing
much.
that I have found very helpful as well. So, for example, the way that I study the presidents, a lot of people just do them in order or by number, but that's usually not how people ask questions about presidents. They're like, he signed this bill into blah, blah, blah in this year. So it's more important to know kind of when they were presidents. So I studied them by basically when the transition happened, whether it was an election or somebody died or was assassinated or something like that. But what I would do is then connect those years onto other events that I was studying. So Best Picture winners, or if I was also studying like battles or wars or other things. So you kind of create these webs of connection, so you can kind of pivot between different things, and you kind of stack your information over each other in different ways, whether it's by time and geography, so you have a big related memory, because oftentimes it's relational, right? We're not just generally we're not being asked cold facts. We're asked to connect things in space or time, and so that's a way that so for instance, Brazzaville is the capital of the Congo. It was also the sequel to Casablanca, right? So you can kind of start to create these like connections between your movie trivia and your geography trivia and all of these other things in that way.
Stop.
Why?
That's so cool. That is so cool.
So sorry.
No, good talk, everybody. There's nowhere to go from here. That was so good. No, I'm good. Okay, we'll switch back again. So I love talking about memory and things like this. And we'll do another one, but I just, what's great about talking about memory and just how your mind works and mindsets and things like that is you go along the way. You can research and you can attend talks from strange people, but talking and having kind of these connections like that is also just such a great way to expand your knowledge and your experience on any topic, but especially on something like that. That was really insightful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's see. What do I want to do? Oh, Buzzy, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Your favorite thing. Canadian provinces?
Sure. Which ones? Would you like British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland and Labrador, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia.
Excellent.
Yukon Territory, Northwest Territory, Nunavut.
Yes, excellent. And then briefly, going, this way to this way, or this way if you're on a map. The Scandinavian countries, can anyone rattle those off in order? Yeah, Raymond.
Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and then you've also got the Baltics over there, since they're Scandinavian.
Okay, that's excellent. That's good. I'm gonna build the Baltics into my mnemonic. Okay, cool, fun stuff. So let's do another quick round. I'm gonna need 2 more volunteers. Let's do. Okay, so we're gonna do sins or Ivy League schools. So which one should we do? Sins. Guys, that's dark, but I like it.
Ivy League schools are sins.
Okay, so who does not know their 7 deadly sins? Raise your hand. Yes. Ish. Okay, I'm gonna borrow you real quick. And may I, what's your name? Jason. Jason. Okay. Big hand. And what's your name?
Kaberi. Kaberi.
Kaberi. Kaberi and Jason. Jason and the Argonauts, Jason L. Dandy, if you guys know Jason Sterlachey. What's another famous Jason?
Jason Robards.
Jason Robards. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. And what would you tell people to help remember your name?
Ooh. I should be able to come up with something off the top of my head. Oh, okay. So, best nickname anybody ever gave me. You know, kids make fun of your name. It's okay. 3rd grade, my full name is Kaberi Chakrabarty. That's my full name. And in 3rd grade, they decided to call me Cadbury Chocolate Bar.
That's fantastic. That's good.
I went to Kyber crystals from Star Wars.
Oh, nice. That's good. Very. I love that. And Jason, nice. Who are our previous guys that we brought down here? What were their names?
Matt and Ray.
Excellent. And who couldn't remember the Great Lakes but now knows them backwards and forwards?
Amy.
All right, perfect. This is cheating a little bit because it's a trivia convention. You kind of have a more inclination to that, but we're gonna go with it. I'm not afraid of cheating. Okay. So again, this is better if you build it yourself in a place that you know. But we have 5 minutes, so we're gonna build it a little bit quickly. And I don't want to mix up our dwarfs and our sins. Just good practice in life. On so many levels. So instead, we're gonna pick a slightly different location, and we're gonna start. And so we can't use Kyle, right? Because Kyle moves, so it's got to be a stationary place. And we used Peter for the other one, but Peter will move. But again, for our purposes, so we're gonna start with this speaker up here. Gosh, that's a big speaker. God, I wish I had a speaker like that. Wouldn't you love to have a speaker like that? I want that speaker. I envy that speaker. I'm not compensating for something, I promise, but I just want a big speaker. Okay, that is a giant speaker. Okay, so we're gonna go to our balloons next. And let me just pull you this way briefly if I can, so we don't upstage Buzzy.
No, please upstage.
Okay, so gluttony. When you think of these balloons and gluttony, does anything come to mind?
Let's say I'm a big fan of grapes.
Big fan of grapes?
I could eat a whole box of grapes.
I love that so much. That's so good. So yes, picture this is just an endless, overflowing cornucopia of grapes, and you're just gluttonous on the grapes, and you're drowning in grapes. It's so good. You've had all this envy about the big speaker. You worked up this appetite because you just have to have these. You have to have all the grapes, all of the grapes. And you're generous with the grapes. You don't care, but you give them away. But just join me in my glutton for grapes. Fantastic. Okay, there's this trash can here. Jason, the next one's greed. So
His
what
name's Peter.
Oh, God.
Anyone? Okay.
Oh, my gosh. That's on tape, too. That's the best. Peter's like, Kyle, edit. You broke me. That's so good. Okay, so by Peter is the trash can, and you have greed for the trash can. So what would you think of for greed?
That I'm so greedy. I have so much stuff. I have to throw it away.
Oh, that's good. That's good. You just, all your diamonds and all of your money, it's just pouring out of your pockets, and you're just like, oh, there's so much of it. I just gotta trash all this stuff, but I can't help myself because I'm just greedy for all of the riches that are eventually overflowing from this trash. Perfect. Okay. So Buzzy, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I suspect you already know this, but help us on the steps. Like going up the steps is lust.
Sure. Just someone just waved at me. Amy just waved at me. This is on video. Yes. So that I don't get in trouble. So that I don't get in trouble, I'll imagine that I'm flying home to see my hot wife later, and so the stairs are like flying me to my wife.
Okay, so it's like a takeoff. Okay. That's good. And this water's for you, by the way. In case you want, I moved it. I put it there. Okay, so that you're killing me. So it's a runway of lust. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Okay, so there's a big camera up there, and we're gonna pretend that camera is up there all the time. And for me, I'm protective of that camera, and since I love that camera so much, it's circled by a pride of lions. There's just don't go near it, don't even look at it. Those lions they'll roar at you. My daughter's texting me, great timing, honey. So there's just a pride of lions up there circling that amazing camera. It's mine, my camera. I don't envy it because I envy the speakers, but I want that because I take pride in that. Okay, Nikki, I'm gonna put you on the spot too. So you see this big post here, okay? Your next one is sloth, so it's kind of easy, but go with it.
I want to think of a cute two-toed sloth just hanging off that pole.
See, I would have just said a sloth, but you got really specific, and now you can visualize that even more. You can kind of picture that cute two-toed sloth just like dangling off of that pole. I'm kind of mad because you upstaged me, but that's okay. I'm kidding. Nikki's fantastic. Trivia Warfare. Yeah, if you didn't see Trivia Warfare last week, you missed out, but don't worry, they have a podcast. It's great. Okay. And let's see, we're gonna finish with pick a location somewhere on the other side of this pole for us. Come here.
I think it's a fire alarm.
A fire alarm. You're so good at this. I love that. Okay, and we're gonna run a little bit over by a couple minutes, so hang in there with us. It's my fault. Okay, so the fire is going off. And when that flashes and you hear that sound, Jason, you're filled with wrath. It makes you so angry. Just the rage when that fire alarm. You ever walk around your house and it's chirping and you can't get that damn thing to turn off? Oh my gosh, picture that thing just chirp, chirp. It just makes you so mad. You're just filled with wrath. Okay. All right, I'm gonna start with you. Okay. So 7 deadly sins. Okay. Of what you suffer from none of these is what I hear. Okay. Can you tell us the 7 deadly sins?
In alphabetical order: envy, gluttony, greed, lust, pride.
Sloth and wrath. Yeah? Not bad? You ready? Can you go in reverse order?
I think so. So wrath, sloth, pride, lust, greed, gluttony, and envy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Okay, but to Buzzy's point from earlier is, okay, you learned those. That's great. How's it going? Mic drop. Everybody's out.
That's great.
Yes, and I apparently do a mic drop from my butt. Sorry for that image. So you learn these things, and that's great. But you don't live in this room, and you don't have these things. So if you want to learn these, create your own mind palace somewhere, but practice it, right? Spaced repetition, day 1, day 0, day 3, day 17. Like, it doesn't have to be those exact numbers, just over time, come back to them and revisit them. And what you do is you establish those connections in the depths of your memory. You take that pink sticky note and you place it in a purposeful spot so that when you need to, you'll remember your sins or your dwarves or your lakes or the people you've met here along the way. And there you go. All right. Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I was thinking about something, but I don't know if it's really interesting.
You got to do it.
Okay. One thing that I just want to share with everyone that I think is interesting is like we talk about our brains like computers, right? You know, like, oh, we store and we read. But what's interesting to me is like humans have always related their brains to like the most advanced technology of the time, right? So if you think about like Freud was probably, you know, thinking about how our brains work, and it was all about these like pressures and all of this stuff because like pneumatic systems were like the most advanced technology of that time. So it's easy to try to think of our brains as computers, but I think our brains aren't computers. So when you're like frustrated that you've lost a file, just to remember that your brain is not a computer. We're just kind of using that, and that it's actually much more complicated. And so all of these things are to help us kind of train our brains to work in the ways that we want them to work. Was that interesting?
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. All right, again, Derek Pharr, if this is interesting, go to Chief Rabbit, check out my newsletter. It's stuff like this and other things as well. Buzzy, thank you so much for being here today, and of course the entire weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Nice. All right, that's it, y'all. Thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of the day.